It was وسام الحسن.
Yes, that's right.
ما الذي سيكشفه اوستروم في هذه الحلقة؟ ما الجديد الذي قد يكون بحوزة هذا الرجل الذي امتلك مفاتيح التحقيق الأول في جريمة اغتيال رفيق الحريري؟ وهل يعيد ما سيقوله خلط الأوراق في ملف المحكمة الدولية؟ هل ينسف القرار الاتهامي أم يدعمه؟ شاهد تحت طائلة المسؤولية. يقترب موعد بدء المحاكمات في قضية اغتيال الرئيس رفيق الحريري مع اقتراب الذكرى التاسعة لهذا الاغتيال الذي هز لبنان في 14 من شباط 2005 وغير معالم سياساته الداخلية والخارجية. 9 سنوات مرت على تلك الجريمة ولم يصل المحققون إلى نتيجة واضحة في تحقيقاتهم، كما لم تحصل المحكمة على ثقة الشعب اللبناني بأدائها الذي شابه الكثير من الاختراقات والتسريبات والمفارقات الصارخة. 9 سنوات على الجريمة و9 سنوات على بدء التحقيقات فيها، والتي افتتحتها لجنة تحقيق دولية برئاسة القاضي ديتليف ميلس الذي حضر إلى لبنان ومعه فريق كبير من المحققين، وانتهى في تحقيقاته إلى وضع تقرير يتحدث عن تنسيق لبناني سوري على تنفيذ العملية، ونتج عن تقريره توقيف الضباط ال4 بتهمة تورطهم في الجريمة. ثم ما لبثت المحكمة الدولية أن أطلقت سراحهم بعد 4 سنوات على احتجازهم زورا، ثم وجهت أصابع الاتهام بعد سوريا إلى حزب الله، واتهمت حتى الآن 5 من عناصر الحزب بارتكاب الجريمة. كثيرة هي الأسئلة حول المحكمة الدولية، كثيرة هي الثغرات التي أضاءت عليها تباعا قناة الجديد عبر تحقيقات تناولت شهود الزور وتسريبات الحقيقة ليكس ووثائق من داخل المحكمة، فضلا عن الشهود الذين اعتمدت عليهم المحكمة لبناء قرارها الاتهامي في قضية اغتيال الحريري. كلها أمور وضعناها سابقا تحت طائلة المسؤولية، وفي برنامج تحت طائلة المسؤولية نضع الملف من جديد على الطاولة لنفتحه مع مفاجآت جديدة تكشف على لسان الذراع اليمنى لديتليف ميلس الذي رافقه خلال تحقيقاته كلها في لبنان وسوريا واطلع على سائر الملفات. إنه اوستروم، صندوق أسود يحتوي على الكثير من الأسرار، نفتحه في هذه الحلقة لنكشف عن معطيات لم تخرج إلى التداول وفرضيات خطيرة جدا وضعها المحققون الدوليون في الحسبان، لكنهم أسقطوها لاحقا لأسباب غير مفهومة. في هذه الحلقة نخرج هذه الفرضيات إلى التداول من جديد على لسان اوستروم الذي يعرف الكثير ويؤمن كما قال للجديد أن لا شيء يحدث بالصدفة. تذهب المحكمة الدولية الخاصة بلبنان بعيدا في اتهام حزب الله بعملية اغتيال رفيق الحريري، على موقعها على الإنترنت تضع صور المتهمين الأربعة بعملية الاغتيال، وأضافت إليهم مؤخرا صورة المتهم الخامس حسن حبيب مرعي. لا شيء آخر يدل على وجود متهمين آخرين بالتفجير على علاقة بلاعبين آخرين على الأرض اللبنانية، وتتقاطع مصالحهم مع مصالح منفذ الاغتيال في التخلص من رفيق الحريري. اوستروم لا يستبعد أحدا من دائرة الاتهام.
I think that we have all the key players spotted in the investigation, and it was just a question of time, to get the elucidation of the different roles they played during the assassination of Mr. Hariri.
Key players, how are they? Who are they?
Well, still you have the presumption of innocence, and it's still an open case, but first of all, when you look into the case and the investigation of the assassination of the former Prime Minister in Lebanon, Mr. Rafik Hariri, you have to put it in the context. And when the biggest obstacle from my point of view when I arrived in late May or beginning of June 2005 was that we were 3 months behind the perpetrators, since the assassination transpired on the 14th of February 2005, and we arrived in May and June. But let's say the advantage also was that whoever killed Mr. Hariri at that time, no one ever believed that there will be an internationally independent investigation commission coming into the place, and therefore, the perpetrators, they could in some sense be a little bit reckless. So the first thing, when I arrived in Beirut at that time, in the UNIIC, together with my investigators, we asked ourselves the question, who wanted to see Mr. Hariri killed? And taking into account all these different factors that we could identify in the early stage of our investigation, almost everyone was on the list. Almost everyone was on the list.
What do you mean almost everyone?
It could be Israel, it could be Al-Qaeda, it could be the Syrians, it could be almost anyone that we put on the list.
قاسم حمادي صحافي لبناني سويدي يتواصل منذ مدة طويلة مع اوستروم. بناء لطلبنا سأل حمادي اوستروم عن إمكانية إجراء مقابلة تلفزيونية يكشف فيها ما لديه من معطيات خطيرة لوضعها تحت طائلة المسؤولية. وافق اوستروم، فتولى حمادي إجراء مقابلة حصرية معه في السويد.
اوستروم هو من أبرز المحققين السويديين. هو عضو بالمجلس الأعلى للشرطة السويدية إذا ترجمه للعربي، هو ضمن الناس اللي المشرفين على أكاديمية الشرطة كمان، اللي بيخرجوا شرطة وتحرية بالسويد. إضافة لأنه بالسنوات خلينا نقول 20 الأخيرة اوستروم صار وجه السويد الشرطي لبرا، اشتغل بسريلانكا بتحقيقات ميدانية، عمليات إرهابية وإلى آخره. وهون وصل لعنا على لبنان، كان مسؤول تحقيق ميداني باغتيال رفيق الحريري، وكان ذراع اليوم من لميلس خلينا نقول. هو اللي عمل التقريرين اللي طلعون ميلس وحطوه وطلعون بمجلس الأمن. هو اللي عامل خلينا نقول 80% هو اللي كتبهم، هو اللي عامل الجزء الأكبر من تحقيق الميداني باغتيال الحريري.
لا يسقط اوستروم أحدا من دائرة الاتهام. كل اللاعبين الإقليميين والدوليين الموجودين على الساحة اللبنانية لا يزالون في دائرة الاتهام بالنسبة إليه. أولا سوريا، ثم حزب الله، ثم يتحدث عن امتناع إسرائيل عن التعاون في هذه القضية، وأيضا الولايات المتحدة لم تساعد التحقيق. القاعدة احتمال، ووسام الحسن المسؤول آنذاك عن أمن رفيق الحريري متهم أيضا بنظر اوستروم. لكن بعيدا عن التكهنات والتحليلات، الرجل المشهود له بخبرته وسيرته الذاتية في مجال التحقيقات شكل من خلال عمله على الدلائل الحسية في ساحة الجريمة قناعة نهائية عن نوعية المتفجرات التي استخدمت وأسلوب التفجير ومكان وضع العبوة.
In the investigation, there is some information that the night before, or in the evening before, which means Sunday the 13th of February, there was a tourist, US resident, together with his wife. They were going in the rental car into this area, and they could see some army-colored vehicles and people in uniforms, putting down a pallet about 1 time 1 meter with something olive green packages into the ground, into a hole in the ground.
You met him, yeah? You met them?
No, not me personally, but my investigators.
Your people, yeah?
Yeah. We sent an investigator to the States, to have an interview with this guy, and he was confirming these things, and he could say where they stayed at the Radisson Hotel, and the rental car and everything, It was corroborated that he, as a matter of fact, was in Beirut at that particular time. And this kind of information was just ignored.
Ignored by?
Yeah. By the UNIIC. We had long discussions because I had a feeling, that it was an underground explosion due to what you could see on the spot when it comes to the crater, when you look at the damages on building inside, and also taking into account this information coming from the American guy or the Lebanese guy living in the United States. From my point of view, it's an indication it wasn't an underground. But the discussion ended, by Detlef and me. We were discussing this, and he said, "Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, he's dead. It was an explosion. It doesn't matter if it was overground or underground, and so on and so forth." And I didn't share his opinion. I said,
"Well, did you mean?"
Yeah. And I didn't share his opinion because I said it's. If it was an underground explosion, of course, more preparations were needed, and it also implicitly will kill the Abu Adas track. Because then the bomb carrier, it was just a scheme.
The Mitsubishi, you mean?
Yeah. So a mobile phone, a remote control going in these wavelengths could not be used, that's for sure.
Not be used.
No, that's for sure. If you were using a remote control, you had to have a satellite phone, like a Soraya. It could be used because it was not covered, that kind of wavelengths.
Soraya?
Yeah, it could be. But we made a very, very in-depth investigation into that track, and I think that it was elucidated at the end of the day that it was no satellite phones used at that time also, and which means that it has to be a cord, a wire. Push the button.
Push the button.
Yes.
So there should be people sitting somewhere, hiding, and push the button.
Yes.
Where they were?
That's a good question. I don't know. I have no idea.
What do you think?
No, I think we had some information, that some witnesses, they made some observations about people on the roof of the St. George's Hotel, and I think it was also some kind of information in the investigation that the perpetrators, I mean the hitmen, that they were killed on the spot, and brought away from there, and so on and so forth. But we could not follow up those kind of information. No, it was a dead end because we had no one to ask.
Did you meet the owner of St. George Hotel?
Yeah, absolutely.
What he said? He has no information? He had no...
Yeah, of course he no essential information at all, but he confirmed, that he had a fight, let's say, with Mr. Hariri about the area around St. George's Hotel, which Mr. Hariri wanted to buy, and it was not for sale. And so they were, let's say, some kind of foes. From my point of view, was if it was an underground explosion, of course, Mr. Khoury would have seen someone digging a hole in the ground outside St. George's Hotel. And he denied. He said, no. Nothing has happened.
But he was at the hotel at that time?
I don't remember if he was there, but I think that other people were there, and someone was really, really badly injured. Someone that was very close to Mr. Khoury, if I recall correctly. And this was also one of the bases for Detlef Mellis about the hole in the ground and the underground explosion, and said, if it was underground, of course, Mr. Fadi Khoury would have seen it, and he would reveal that kind of information for us.
We have another name, Javier Laroche. You know him. He's a juridical coordinator for the Special Tribunal for Lebanon. He has a theory that Mr. Hariri was killed by a missile from the air.
Of course.
What do you think?
Yeah, of course. Launched from the planet of Mars. Small green men. Oh, no, that's nonsense. Absolutely nonsense. Of course, if you go back, and you look into, say, previous experiences and so on and so forth, and you have to make some comparison analysis, of what would the post-blast scene look like if you have a missile coming from above. This you have a very, very symmetric crater, both symmetric when it comes to the diameter and also in the depth. It was about 12 meters in diameter. It was 2.5 meters down, and very, very symmetric. Also when it comes to the walls in the crater, and also if you see the impact of the blast on the surrounding buildings and so on. If you had a missile coming from above in this direction, you should have, it's exactly the same as a blood-stained pattern. You should see, it could be like a tail, and then you would have the crater or the post-blast scene pushed in the direction of the missile coming down. But this is very, very symmetric, so it's incredible. Yeah. And of course, I would be very, very interested in what the basis are for Mr. LaRouche to have this opinion.
Why would Hezbollah kill Mr. Hariri?
بعض ما يقوله اوستروم في هذه الحلقة قيل سابقا في سياق تحليلات وتكهنات إعلامية أو في سياق تسريبات لم يجري التحقق من دقتها، لكن غالبية ما يفصح عنه اليوم بما يمثله يشكل مادة جديدة لم يجري التطرق إليها سابقا، ومعظم ما يقوله يستند إلى حقائق وليس إلى تحليلات أو تكهنات.
And of course, he was very well aware of that there were some threats to his life. I mean, look at his armored cars, the jammers, the security details, and so on and so forth. So, and I mean, it was not a small jalaboom. It was a really, really big blast. It was about 1,000 kilogram of RDX and C4. And who has the possession of the opportunity to have this kind of amount of explosive in the I mean, I'm asking just a question, I don't have the answer, but I mean, if you build up a hypothesis, it must come from the military, from the state or something like that. It's really, really, really huge. And also, you can see that the initial measures undertaken from the Lebanese authorities of this killing of Hariri, they were really tampering with evidence. In an early stage, they went out and said it was TNT that was the explosive used in the blast. And that was proven really, really wrong. And I had my doubts already from the beginning because, different explosives, they have different characteristics. And if you looked at the crater, and if you looked at the damages on the buildings, on the St. George's Hotel, for example, and on the crane and so on, you could see that this is not typical for TNT. So my presumption in the early stage was that it was C4. And later on it was proven to be RDX C4 that was used in the blast. C4. Yes, and there was also, if I recall correctly right now, I think that there was some information in the investigation, that some big amounts of RDX C4 had been stolen from any depot in Syria or something like that. That information is still in the army? Yeah, it was an army depot, in Syria, and it was allegedly stolen from there. And also, this story with the Abu Adas, the videotape that was broadcasted through Al Jazeera later on, also a lot of question marks. But also bearing in mind, that very, very shortly after the blast, the 14th of February, all the main figures within the intelligence and investigation apparatus in Lebanon were on the spot. They were at Minat Al-Hassan Street, and they did nothing. No one of them, because they were pointing finger. For example, Raymond Nassar, who was in charge of the military intelligence, he was there, you know, and I said, what did you do? Nothing. But why did you end up on the spot? I just want to be informed. It goes with my post at the military intelligence. And I thought, you know, it was the job of Ali Al-Hajj, who was the head of the ISF. And Ali Al-Hajj thought it was the responsibility of Jamil El-Sayed, who was the head of the Sûreté Générale. And also Mustafa Hamdan, who was the head of the Presidential Guard, was also on the spot. And no one did anything about it.
You still believe that those guys, the 4 journalists, were involved in that?
I mean, they were incarcerated for some years, depending on murder charge, but later on released. And I don't know exactly, you know, the grounds for this, you know. But the negligence or the omission of not doing these things, you know, is for me is very, very astonishing. It's surprising. It's a big question mark. On the HSBC Bank building, there was a CCTV camera. That CCTV camera recorded just a minute before the Hariri convoy came to the area covered by the camera. There is this Mitsubishi Canter van driving very, very slowly. I mean, the traffic in Al-Hassan Street this time of day, you know, is like this, very, very fast. And then it comes this 22 kilometers an hour.
Not the Mitsubishi, yes.
Yeah, the Mitsubishi Canter van. That was allegedly the bomb carrier. And yeah, so it passed. And then the convoy came, and then jala boom, big blast. But have you, and another thing, you know, when you start a murder investigation, you have your own experience. You go back and see, have we had this situation before, this kind of modus operandi, this kind of threats before, and so on and so forth, you know, and then you are building up what I call the hypothesis out on the basis of your own previous experience. And have you ever had a case where a bomb carrier is on the run, is rolling?
Have we?
No.
Never.
Never.
يمتلك اوستروم معطيات دقيقة وخطيرة عن وجود كاميرات للمراقبة كانت تغطي من زوايا عدة مكان الانفجار، ومن بينها كاميرات موجودة في مصرف HSBC لم يستخدم إلا واحدة منها، فضلا عن كاميرات كانت موجودة في فندق المونرو، وكاميرا أخرى كانت موضوعة على منطاد يطير فوق منطقة سان جورج في تلك الفترة. هذه الكاميرات صادرت أشرطتها قوى الأمن الداخلي بعد وقوع الجريمة، لكنها اختفت. كيف اختفت؟ ومن المسؤول عن اختفائها؟ تابعوا ما سيقوله اوستروم في هذه القضية.
Why did they just collect information from this camera? Because at the other end of Minnet Al-Hassan Street, there were other CCTV cameras.
What happened to that?
Don't know. Disappeared. They said, allegedly they said in the ISF, you know, that they did secure this evidence, you know, but no one knew where the tapes went. And that's also a question mark. How come? How come in investigation like this you put all the bits and pieces?
Who did you ask about the second camera? Was it Wissam Al-Hassan or?
No. It was Wissam El-Eid. I also asked General Rifik about it. And of course, he was not involved in the investigation, but at that time he was in charge of the ISF, so he should take that. No, they couldn't find it.
They couldn't find it?
They had secured it, but they couldn't find it. They have seized it, but it was not found.
Yeah.
وتوضيحا لقصة الكاميرات وأمكنة وجودها، طلبنا من زميلنا قاسم حمادي أن يراسل اوستروم ويسأله تفاصيل أكثر عن هذه النقطة، فأجاب برسالة مفصلة تؤكد وجود عدد كبير من الكاميرات في محيط سان جورج، ومن بينها واحدة كانت على منطاد في الجو.
بيقوم بيجاوبنا هو بالإيميل، بيقول له إنه كان في عدة كاميرات CCTV كاميراز غطت كل منطقة ميناء الحصن. هو بيقول في كاميرا المونرو ها
اوكي اوتيل مرة.
وفي كاميرا المنطاد
اوكي
اللي هو بيقول في عدة كاميرات جنوب الاتش اس بي سي.
اوكي جنوب
الاتش بي سي
يعني من اوكي
كانت مغطي كل الشارع اللي مرق فيه الحريري. نحن سألنا السلطات اللبنانية عن كل الأفلام اللي قالوا لنا إنه موجودة، وقالوا لنا إنه كلهم صادرناهم يعني موجودين.
اوكي
ولكن وقت التحقيق ما أعطونا إلا كاميرا أو فيلم الاتش اس بي سي.
هذا اللي انعرض على التلفزيون اللي مبين فيه المتسوبيشي.
بيرجع بيقول هو نحن مأكدين إنه الكاميرا اللي كان بالمنطاد كانت قدرانة توثق كل عملية التفجير كلها، يعني من الألف للياء.
هاي هو قال إنه صاروا أخذوهم قوى أمن
داخلي بالضبط صح.
وكما أخفت قوى الأمن الداخلي أشرطة الكاميرات الكثيرة التي كانت ترصد المنطقة، امتنعت الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية عن إعطاء ما تملكه من صور بالأقمار الصناعية لمكان التفجير، فيما التزمت إسرائيل صمتا مريبا بعد أن أرسلت إليها لجنة التحقيق الدولية طلبا بالحصول على ما تملكه من صور مراقبة جوية لمكان الانفجار.
When you have an investigation like this, first of all, you cannot be biased and you cannot have any preconditions. You have to have a very, very open mind and take all these different aspects into account in the investigation. And of course, when you are collecting information, you are utilizing a lot of sources. And of course, if Hezbollah has some vital information for the investigation, it should be taken into account. But also bearing in mind that Israel has some continuous interest in having surveillance actions in Lebanon, and I know for sure, that they had some satellite images that we were requesting from them, and also from the United States.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to ask you about. You sent requests for help, both to Israel and to the States.
Yes.
Yeah, you were asking about the satellite imagery. Yeah. What did they answer you?
Well, if I recall correctly right now, I think that I don't believe that the Israelis responded to our request at all. And from US, we had some information that there were some technical problems during the critical times that we were asking of. So we didn't get any vital information or any satellite images from neither US nor Israel.
But I mean, you didn't get any help from Israel and the States. They should help you.
Yeah, they were really open-minded.
He was a friend of the States. He was a friend of.
Yeah, definitely, and I think that the U.S. I mean, they were really open-minded and helpful, and saying we will assist you, whatever you like to have, But the response in this particular case was that there was some technical problems, so they actually didn't have it. So that's also a response. But Israelis was just silence.
Don't you think that they try to hide something?
Everything is possible. Everything.
Maybe they killed him. That's why they don't want to give you the pictures.
Yeah, they were, all of these people, all of these bodies, they were on the list.
لوسام الحسن رئيس فرع المعلومات الذي اغتيل بسيارة مفخخة في الأشرفية قبل أكثر من عام حصة كبيرة في جعبة اوستروم. الحسن الذي كان مسؤولا عن أمن رفيق الحريري في فترة اغتياله لم يكن في عداد الموكب الذي استهدفه الانفجار، وهذه نقطة استرعت انتباه المحققين. اوستروم استجوب الحسن شخصيا وسأله في هذه النقطة.
It was three different alternatives for him to move from the Parliament Square to the Creighton Palace.
Do you remember which roads?
Oh, I don't remember the names, but Minat Al-Hassan Street, was one of them, and then you had two other options. And I mean, it's just looking into a map.
Who decided?
Yeah, that's a very interesting point. The person who decided about the routes taken was Wissam Al-Hassan, who was in charge of the Hariri security detail at the time.
When did he decide which road Mr. Hariri would take?
Well, when he decided that, I don't know, but the thing is that in the morning, Monday the 14th of February 2005, he was supposed to be in the convoy, Wissam Al-Hassan, and very, very late he jumped off. he said, I cannot do it because I have to go to the university for some kind of test or examination, exam or something like that. And then he told the one who took over to be in charge of the convoy just before departure that they should choose the minute Al-Hassan Street going back.
You know that, or you?
Yeah, well, it's an information coming from Wissam Al-Hassan.
You met him,
Yeah.
قناة CBC الكندية كانت قد تحدثت عن دور للحسن في عملية الاغتيال استنادا إلى مذكرة حصلت عليها من الأمم المتحدة في تحقيق استقصائي بث قبل سنوات، لكنه لم يخرج يوما بشكل صريح على لسان محقق من طراز اوستروم.
CBC News has obtained a copy. It refers to Hassan as a possible suspect in the Hariri killing and concludes that Hassan is a key interlocutor for the Commission. He is in a unique position to influence our investigation. As such, questions regarding his loyalty and intentions should be resolved. Therefore, it is recommended that Hassan be investigated quietly.
So Wissam Al-Hassan, he was alone to know, he and Mr. Hariri, about?
According to his own information.
About which way Hariri should take. Yeah? So the group who killed Mr. Hariri should have got the information from somebody.
Yeah, of course.
How did they get that information?
Yeah, it goes without saying, it's a rhetorical question. If there's only one person who knows which road to take and all the preparations needed before the blast, of course it was decided at least days before in order to prepare for the commission of the crime.
It's very dangerous what you say. I mean, you mean that Mr. Wissam Al-Hassan gave that information?
No, I didn't say that. What I said was that there was only one person up until very, very close the time of departure from Kuwait to the Palma. There was only one person who had the information about the route to be taken.
It was Wissam Al-Hassan.
Yes, that's right. And are there any other alternatives? Yeah, of course. Because you had 3 different routes and you could make an assessment. Which one is the most probable road for him to take?
By chance.
By chance. And do you believe in that?
Do you believe in that?
No, of course not. But I mean, it's still open. No, I don't.
But you believe
because remember one thing, as an experienced investigator, in particular when it comes to murder investigations, the first thing you do is that you erase things happening haphazard or coincidentally. Everything has a rational explanation, more or less rational at the end of the day. And this is still facts, according to the key person himself. Wissam Al-Hassan, he decided the route and he was the only one who knew that. And he was releasing that information to the guy who took over for be in charge of the convoy, very, very close to departure.
So the information came from him?
Yeah, it's still a rhetorical question. That's the
I mean, I talked
that's
to
the
you
only
before.
conclusion. Yes.
Yeah, you told me that you believe that
Yes, sure.
Hassan gave. Yeah, could be that he gave them the information which wrote.
He was the only one who had the information.
Did you ask him?
According to himself, and he said that he went to the university, that he was aware of the assassination very late because he has turned off his mobile phone, and so on and so forth. And first of all, we could not elucidate that he really was at the university. The phone was not switched off. It was 24 of telephone calls made that particular morning, the 14th of February, and it never happened before that he was jumping off his mission to go with the security detail. This was the only time.
This is the only time he jumped off.
Yeah. What a coincidence. What a coincidence.
يا لها من مصادفة، لكنها ليست المصادفة الوحيدة، فالأغرب من ذلك أن يعيد نجل رفيق الحريري سعد وسام الحسن إلى المنصب نفسه قبل أن ينتقل بعدها إلى فرع المعلومات بعد استشهاد الرائد وسام عيد ومحاولة اغتيال رئيس فرع المعلومات الأسبق سمير شحادة. والمفارقة الكبرى بحسب اوستروم هي تولي وسام الحسن بعد اغتيال الحريري مهمة التواصل بين المحكمة الدولية وآل الحريري.
Wissam Al-Hassan, he was he became a link between you and Hariri family, and even the government or the state, Lebanon, or
no.
He was what?
Now, he was our, let's say, liaison officer or our contact point when it came to information coming from the Hariri family or Hariri documents, Hariri diaries, mobile phones, and all these things.
Everything came from the family, and everything about Hariri came through.
Yes.
Was it difficult for you?
No. Actually, that we had a very, very good cooperation together with Wissam Al-Hassan, and he was really, really keen on serving us, with the kind of information. But the problem for me was, and is still, the role that he played the morning of 14th of February 2005, when he didn't join the convoy and came up with this crap about, the exam at university and mobile phone and all these things that we could corroborate was not true. So that was my biggest problem, So we didn't know what kind of information he was filtering. So we could not make any analysis of the relevance or reliability of the information that we got, because everything was channeled or funneled through him.
هذه معلومات تماما صح. هون عندنا هذا شق، نحن باللواء وسام الحسن في شق هو معلومات، هو عم بقول هذا محقق، عم نحكي هو اللي حقق مع وسام الحسن. دائما المحقق وقت ما بيكون عنده أدلة مباشرة بصير يحط صور على بعضها، يعني بيركب هالمشهد والمشهد ليستنتج. بالتحقيق مع وسام الحسن هو بياخذ هاي المعلومات، بيحصل على هاي المعلومات. هاي المعلومات حصل عليها أبوه من أول تحقيق. But why you didn't hear him more? Why you didn't?
We did, absolutely. I mean, Wissam Al-Hassan, he was an asset for the UNCCC, because he was our contact point and liaison officer, so to say, to come into information from the Hariri family and so on and so forth, And as I believe that you are very well aware of, that even though that these kind of suspicious minds were pointing at Wissam Al-Hassan, he was taken back to the Hariri family by the son of Rafik Hariri, Mr. Saad Hariri. So he came back in the same position, to be in charge of the security, and then later on he went back to the ISF. And at the time of his killing a year ago, he was in charge of the intelligence branch of the ISF.
اوستروم مقتنع أن وسام الحسن كان يخفي معلومات عن لجنة التحقيق الدولية، وحينها سأل ديتليف ميلس إذا كان بإمكانه إجراء تحقيق مفصل وقاص مع وسام الحسن منذ ولادته وحتى اغتيال رفيق الحريري، فكان جواب ديتليف ميلس: لا تعقد الأمور.
Why do you think that Mr. Wissam Al-Hassan was killed?
Well, that's a $1 million question, because if you start to scratch on the surface a little bit, you see, you exactly the same as the Hariri, you have a lot of people or bodies, that you could put on that list who wanted to see him dead. And also, that in this particular case, if I'm correct, if my information is correct, I think that he received also some threats shortly before the blast that killed him. But from my point of view, when I left the Lebanon and the UNCCC, I had in my mind, that there will be a doomsday even for you, because if he was involved in the planning of killing Mr. Hariri in the way that I'm pointing out or sorting out right now, of course, it's something else happened, in the environment around him and so on and so forth. Of course, you have to make an analysis. Where do we have the weak links in this setup, so to say, and his relation to the Hariri family and so on and so on. I think that he could be assessed as a weak link, and that could be a reason. But you have other reasons, some plausible reasons. For example, that during his time at the ISF intelligence branch, he was revealing the Michel Samaha and the explosives to try to get into Lebanon to destabilize the situation there, and I don't know what kind of information they had within the intelligence branch, also connected to the Hariri killing. And for example, Wissam El Eid, who was working very, very closely to you and IIIC and to me and my investigators, and who was the one who picked up these with the SIM cards and the mobile phones following Hariri's movements in Lebanon. He was also killed by a car bomb. And I don't know the state of play when it comes to the investigation of neither Wissam Al-Hassan or Wissam Elid, but it should be interesting to see where they are right now in the investigation.
I'd like to talk more about Wissam Al-Hassan. If now Wissam Al-Hassan, he was the only one who knew about which way Hariri should take, why he should give the killers that such information for money? I mean, he worked for a billionaire.
Yeah, I have no idea. I have no idea. But I mean, of course, it's a high treason. It's a betrayal against his employer. I mean, and the position he has. So I don't think that money is the matter, you know. But some kind of let's say force or some kind of incentive has to be there, of course.
On him?
Definitely. It could be a threat, it could be whatever, you know. But
so we kill you if you don't tell us?
Something like that, yes. But there is something, yeah, but I don't know, of course. But
there is something, but you don't know.
That's correct. And I don't think that money is not the subject of
Why
matter.
not?
Come on. He was employed by Mr. Hariri. I mean, $60 billion talks for itself, you know. It's, yeah. It comes from the initiator, the mastermind of the killing of Hariri comes from Syria, period.
Syria?
That's my opinion, yes.
بأوستروم كما سبق وذكرنا صندوق أسود يحتوي الكثير من الأسرار حول مجموعة من الملفات المتعلقة باغتيال رفيق الحريري.
It was an underground explosion.
الرجل كان على تماس مباشر مع معظم الشخصيات التي تدور في فلك هذه القضية. حقق في فرضيات عدة من بينها ما اصطلح على تسميته بمجموعة 13 التي اعترف أميرها بقتل رفيق الحريري، وكان أحد أفرادها خالد طه على علاقة وثيقة بأحمد أبو عدس الذي تبنى تنفيذ الاغتيال في شريط بثته قناة الجزيرة آنذاك.
الأسم وآكل السحت رفيق الحريري عبر تنفيذنا لعملية استشهادية مدوية.
استندت لجنة التحقيق الدولية في تقريرها إلى داتا الاتصالات ومن بينها الخطوط الثمانية التي راقبت الحريري قبل اغتياله، والتي توصل إليها الرائد وسام عيد من فرع المعلومات واغتيل على الغالب بسبب ذلك. وترتبط قضية الخطوط الثمانية بشكل غريب بقضية مجموعة 13 بعدما تبين أن أحد الأرقام كان يمتلكه خالد طه أحد أعضاء مجموعة الثمانية، وهو أمر أثار اهتمام اوستروم.
You have Salafists and Al-Qaeda and Abu Adas.
Yeah, but Abu Adas, I mean, if Abu Adas, if we have a presumption that the Abu Adas track is just a scheme, of course, you know, there are some interests in strengthening the connection with Abu Adas and all these other things. So I mean, this SIM card belonging to Mr. Taha, a friend of Abu Adas, you don't know how it came into the possession of these 8 other people. I mean, you have a very interesting link, of course, but you don't know who had the possession of this SIM card and how it ended up to be one of the 8 following the movements of Hariri. Of course, it goes without saying that you have a lot of people involved. And you have to start with what I call a pattern of thoughts. You have a mastermind somewhere, you know, who initiated these things. Then you have some I call them brokers, people, you know, that has the right connections, have the right affiliations to mobilize the right people, you know, to plan and prepare for what will come later on. And this is one of the key difficulties in any investigation, you know, to sort out the different roles. So what you can tell about these 8 people, or we call them the 8 SIM cards, you know, that they are have some surveillance measures according to the whereabouts and movements of Mr. Hariri from the beginning of January up until the blast. Directly in connection to the blast, you know, they were cut. They were shut down. All of these ones. And I don't think that these people, you know, were the trigger men and so on. So there has to be someone else involved, you know. And who had the contacts?
Who's this someone else?
Yeah, I don't know.
Al-Qaeda?
I don't know.
Could Hezbollah work?
I mean, it's still open avenues of all these things, you know.
So
but
didn't push the bottom, you mean?
I didn't say that. But I think that they are involved, you know, in the preparation and the planning of these things based on my assumptions that I presented earlier to you. And that's a fact. It's not fully explored. So you have to follow that avenue, because when you have an investigation, as I told you before, don't turn the blind eye to any. Everything is possible at the end of the day, you know, and everyone is assumed to be innocent until they are convicted in front of a court of law.
Hariri was killed in February 14, yeah? On the same day, a group of 6 Salafists left Beirut to Australia. You remember that, yeah?
And there were some traces of explosives in the plane, and so.
They did fine.
Yeah. But that was also.
Isn't it interesting?
Yeah. Of course, it's interesting, and we were investigating that.
And
No, I think we closed that. You know, it showed up that it was.
why you closed that?
No, I think it was. I don't remember exactly, you know, but I think it was elucidated that they had nothing to do with it. You know, there were some evidence that was corroborated about their whereabouts and what they did and so on and so forth. You know.
ارتبط اسم أبو اوستروم بشاهد الزور في لجنة التحقيق الدولية عبد الباسط بني عودة الذي لجأ إلى السويد وتولى اوستروم التواصل معه. والغريب في أمر الشهود الزور أن اوستروم لا يعرف من أحضرهم إلى لجنة التحقيق الدولية، ولم يستطع كما يقول أن يثق بأحد منهم، خصوصا محمد زهير الصديق.
Hussam, Abdul Basit Bani Ouda, and Muhammad Zuhair Siddiq. 3 names. They are well-known names.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we are talking about perjury here. Yeah, fake witnesses. Who got them to you?
That's a good question. Sadiq, I don't remember, but he was considered to be a sensitive source. You know, Hossam I met and interviewed myself, and also Bani Ouda, of course. And Bani Ouda was brought to us through the ISF. And and Hossam he came personally. Bani Ouda took contact with ISF, and ISF put him in contact with us, you know. And Sadiq, I don't remember.
When did you start that they were lying? When did you start believe that they were lying?
Well, we can take away Sadiq because that was really he was talking about a lot of details and information.
Zuhair Siddiq.
Yes. And a lot of details, you know, and that we could check up. Actually, there was one apartment in Dahia, you know, where all these generals from Syria and key people from Lebanon, where they met, you know, and where they were planning these things and so on and so forth. You know, we found the apartment, you know, and we could conclude that no one been there, you know, for a year or something like that.
It's easy to tell you that there is an apartment here.
Yeah. But I mean, you asked me how did you reveal that they were lying? Because all the details that we could check up, they didn't match the information that they left.
He gave. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's for his point. But in the same time, you know, in the same time, you always have to have an open mind. Also, that perhaps not everything was just lies. Perhaps it was some details or some information that you could not corroborate that was true. And when it comes to Hossam and to Bani Ouda, you know, that they didn't deliver. Bani Ouda, for example, which was my responsibility since he was staying in Sweden. And he had a lot of demands, you know, if you do this for me, you know, I will give you that information and so on and so forth. And so every time I met him and had interviews with him, you know, he was putting some new baits on the hook, so to say, you know, I can tell you about this and I can tell you about that and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, he did not deliver. You know, and perhaps you know there was a TV program in Sweden, you know, but that he was betrayed by the UNIIC and so.
Did deliver anything to you?
Yeah, a lot of information, but it could not be corroborated. On the contrary, you know, we could say that this is a lie. It doesn't fit into the pattern, you know.
Who was behind this?
Good question. I don't know.
You should know who wrote him. Who wrote to you?
No.
Was it Al-Hassan?
Pardon me?
Al-Hassan?
No, actually, I don't know. He just turned up in the investigation as a sensitive source, and I don't know how he entered into the investigation. I don't know.
And those fake witnesses, how they affected the investigation?
For sure, you know that. I mean, Hossam and Bani Auda, no, not at all. I wouldn't say, but Sadiq, it was an obstacle, you know, for. It took away precious time. It took away precious resources to check up all the information he left, and also there were some, let's say, mindsets among the investigators, you know, that like putting all the eggs in one basket. So it was really a very strong focus on him for quite some time, you know.
التقى اوستروم بغازي كنعان قبل يوم واحد من انتحاره. لم يسمع كلاما مهما من كنعان يخدم التحقيقات، لكنه لاحظ ماء في فم الرجل يمنعه من الكلام. اوستروم غير مقتنع بأن غازي كنعان انتحر.
غازي كنعان, why did you meet him?
Yeah, he was the Minister of the Interior at that time, you know, and he was mentioned in some interviews and other information coming into the investigation that he could probably possess vital information about, let's say, the what you call it, the atmosphere, you know, within the leadership of Syria, and how the discussions were going about the opinion of Mr. Hariri and the implication of Hariri, what he did in Lebanon, you know, affecting Syria.
Did
So
he
that
give you any good information, helpful information?
No, I wouldn't say so.
What did he tell you? What kind of information he gave you?
No, it was general information. I mean, the same information you can have from open sources. So it was nothing new. But I had the feeling of that he had something else he wanted to well, just a gut feeling.
I remember that you told me that you asked him on the end of the interview that. Yeah. Do you want to tell me something more I forgot to ask you about?
You want to change something of your statement? He said something in style with not now and here and something like that.
Yes.
You know, yeah, so that was the gut feeling, you know, that there was something more, you know.
And he was killed 1 week after that meeting?
No, it was actually, I believe it was the same day.
Same day?
Or the day after, you know, and he committed suicide. Did you
investigate that?
No, we asked, you know, to get the documentation from the investigative measures that have been undertaken in Syria, and also the protocol from the autopsy, and also the reconstruction and the crime scene examination and so on.
It?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
What can you tell me about it? Suicide?
I don't believe it.
Why not?
First of all, I mean, this is really, but remember that this is my personal opinion, you know, and officially he committed suicide, period. That's it. But there was some, let's say there was, from my point of view, some question marks. First of all, he was sitting at his office behind a desk, and he was talking to a journalist, and after he hung up, the secretary heard one shot and went into the office, and there was Mr. Kanan found laying on his back at the floor with a gun still up here on the chest with the index finger on the trigger. And he was shot. He killed himself, you know, with one shot in the mouth. Went out like this. and allegedly when he was sitting at his desk. Sure. So, what will happen if you fire a shot through your mouth or in the head? What is the first thing that will happen? When the bullet penetrates the skull, there will be an immense high pressure inside the skull. So the first blood stain will come like a garden hose in this direction out of the head. And when it goes through and through, there will be an equalizer of the pressure inside the skull, and you will have some blood stain pattern on the wall behind. And if we looked into the pictures, and they were a pretty good quality, you couldn't find any blood stain patterns.
You got pictures?
From the crime, both from the reconstruction and from the so-called scene examination. And as what I could see, you didn't have any blood stain patterns on the curtain behind the desk. It was 1 meter, something like that. And you couldn't see any blood stains on the desk. If you were shooting like this, should be in that direction. And also from the autopsy protocol, you could find that he had some damages on his teeth. And of course, if you fire a shot like this, the recul comes, you will have some damages on the inside of the teeth. But in this particular case, it was on the outside.
What should mean?
Yeah, it could mean a lot of things, but one plausible theme is, that someone forced the barrel into his mouth.
Or from behind?
No. The shooting direction was from inside mouth and out, yes. And also there was something that we perceived being some blood-stained patterns about 2 meters on the left-hand side of the desk and about 60 centimeters above the floor, And that didn't fit into the pattern of committing the suicide. So these are the reasons. And in particular, the gun on the chest, with still the index finger on the trigger.
You believe that he had information about?
I don't know.
تختلط الملفات الكثيرة في دماغ الرجل الذي يعرف الكثير، لكنه يفصل دائما بين الحقائق وبين التحليلات. تحليله الشخصي يقوده إلى أن حزب الله متورط في الجريمة على الرغم من كل الحقائق التي أدلى بها في هذه الحلقة. لماذا قد يغتال حزب الله الحريري؟
Melis and you and other investigators believed that it was Hezbollah who did it, yeah?
Well, when we were putting all these bits and pieces together, one of the main issues or the main questions was who has the capacity to commit a crime like this with a special modus operandi, with all the people who had to be involved, and so on and so forth, and then you could shuffle around all the names on the list, where I told you before, that almost everyone was on the list, and later on, when you were putting all the bits and pieces together, you could see a pattern. You could see a pattern of all these stuff, and from my point of view, it was plausible, that there was Hezbollah group in that played a key role. Then you have to find, the individuals, who pulled the trigger, who pushed the button.
That they played the key role?
Yeah, because first of all, the tight connections with Syria, when talking about the plausible motive to kill Hariri, and also to have the capacity. Who has the capacity? And they have it, definitely.
Even Israel has the capacity. Even Al-Qaeda has the same capacity to...
Exactly. All these figures that you are mentioning right now, taking into account what I told you before, about the presumption of innocence. So this is a kind of hypothesis, that you are putting up the avenues in investigation and you follow them to the end of the road, and you close them, you throw them away or pick up another avenue. But this avenue is still the main avenue in the investigation, even though that you should not turn the blind eye to other alternatives, so to say, But from my personal opinion, and my firm belief is that you have to follow this first avenue and close it, or keep it as the main direction, aim and direction for the investigation.
Why would Hezbollah kill Mr. Hariri?
No, I don't think it was nothing personal, but they were just a tool for someone else where I have very, very strong affiliation with.
And who was it?
Yeah, from my point of view, it's still in the avenue. It comes from the initiator, the mastermind of the killing of Hariri comes from Syria, period.
From Syria?
That's my opinion, yes.
So Syria gave order to Hezbollah to kill Mr. Hariri?
Yes, that's my opinion.
الرجل الذي أمضى 10 أشهر في لبنان يشتاق إلى هذا البلد ويتحدث عن الكثير من البذخ الذي استقبل به فريق المحققين من قبل سياسيين لبنانيين نافذين. على قاعدة أطعم الفم تستحي العين، قام سياسيون لبنانيون على تماس مع قضية اغتيال الحريري بمد الولائم لديتلف ميلس ولفريقه.
How was it to work in Lebanon? 10 months.
Yeah, well, actually.
Was it your first time?
No, I've been there before, you know, but it was like a deportation or something like that. So it was just a short stop coming from Cyprus and over to Beirut during the 80s or beginning of 90s, something like that. But no, this was the first time. I really liked it very much, you know. I think that, and also, I mean, you know yourself, you know, when we came down there, you know, and there was very, very big hopes from the population, you know, about the Melis Commission, you know, and we were all over, you know, on the headlines and TV shows and so on and so forth, you know, and I told Detlef, you know, please calm down a little bit, you know, because you are creating big expectations on the people about the result, you know, and this is really tricky business, so slow down a little bit. And yeah, but people are very, very friendly, and when they revealed, you know, that I was the senior investigator and team leader in UNIIC. I had a VIP treatment wherever I went, you know. Beautiful country,
we heard a lot
good wines.
Yeah, we heard a lot of information about that. You, Mr. Millis, I mean, and were invited many times, wine, cigars, and everything. Was it correct? Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
By Prime Minister that time.
I don't remember. It could be local mayors, and I was also at some this and yeah, we were treated very well, and everyone was keen on, you know, that we should be very comfortable and.
But such things, I mean, didn't affect the.
You have to ask Detlef about these things. I try to have a very, very low profile on these things. Sometimes you could not. I didn't say that. That comes from you.
اوستروم لا يؤمن بالصدفة، كل شيء محسوب ومخطط له. واسمعوا جيدا تلخيصا لأبرز ما قاله في هذه الحلقة. أولا، لوسام الحسن دور في اغتيال رفيق الحريري. ثانيا، الإسرائيليون والأمريكيون تمنعوا عن إعطاء صور الأقمار الصناعية إلى لجنة التحقيق الدولية. ثالثا، التفجير حدث من تحت الأرض وهناك شاهد أمريكي على ذلك. رابعا وأخيرا، كاميرات المراقبة الموجودة في المنطقة صادرتها قوى الأمن الداخلي واختفت. هل هي مجرد مصادفات؟ قرر تحت طائلة المسؤولية.